The NFL gods gave us, I'll say it, a second Super Bowl. I thought like Rams, Seahawks felt like maybe the Super Bowl, and then we get the actual Super Bowl by name. Theo joins me here. You guys know him from TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, everything out there. Do you think that's a fair assessment? Do you think Rams, Seahawks is like the true Super Bowl, and this is kind of just a secondary one?
No.
Okay.
No, I think this is the Super Bowl. I think that maybe the two best teams did play in the NFC Championship game, but I think that this is a game. I think the Patriots have a chance to win this one. I think there's too much complaining. Oh, we've seen these teams before. Oh, this is going to be
It's so
a blowout.
different, man.
Like, well, last year that was the narrative, right? Oh,
Yeah.
we've seen these teams before. I'm sick of the rematches. I'm sick of the Chiefs. The Super Bowl stinks. And then this year, it's something completely different. And it's, well, then this isn't even going to be a game. So I'm trying to drum up some excitement. I think this is the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited for this too. I was just like looking at like the recent list of like Super Bowl MVPs, and it's like Mahomes, Brady. And it's like, okay, we got something new here. We got a potential like the next path to the Bradys and Mahomes with Drake May and obviously Sam Darnold in this like legendary defense. So just kind of setting this thing up from the top. The point spread right now is at 4.5 points favored towards the Seahawks here. Let's just start this off with a banger question. Give me a final score prediction, then we'll work backwards and get into the details.
Let's go 13-10.
Whoa! Who wins?
I think the Seahawks eke it out. They were my pick before the playoffs. I had Seahawks Patriots.
Nice.
And I picked the Seahawks, and I'm going to stick with it. But the Patriots are scary, and I like both defenses a lot. So I think the low-scoring route is the one I want to go down.
Okay, I'm joining you with the low scoring. I got it Seahawks 24, Patriots 16, so a little bit higher scoring than what you have there. And just from my angle on the Seahawks, and you guys probably have already seen the stat, but this team is 7th best all time according to DVOA, and it's one of the best defenses. And then the special teams is also really good. And then the big thing we're obviously going to get to is the up and down nature of the Sam Darnold offense, and the Kenneth Walker also up and down nature of his style of play too. So I think there's a lot of volatility. You got Drake May against the best defensive play caller in the NFL right now. So there's a lot of good angles to go here. Why do you like the kind of under just in general?
I like the under because I think that we've seen the way that the Patriots offense has played, and it hasn't been great. And we've seen the way that Seahawks defense has played all year, and it has been super great, arguably better than the Legion of Boom, right? Ooh. According to certain statistics. Obviously, the Legion of Boom was stamped by their Super Bowl performance, and the Seahawks have that big hurdle to clear. But in general, I think that it's going to be tough for the Patriots to get the ball to the wide receivers. It's been tough all postseason, and without those explosive plays, I don't see them moving the ball super effectively against this front. And then as far as Sam Darnold and the Seahawks go against the Patriots defense, I mean, they're running into Christian Gonzalez here. They're running into a corner that they have not seen that actually can guard JSN. And they're running into a defense that is very multiple, that can change its looks in an instant, that apparently the Chargers players didn't know what they were looking at, right?
Which I don't believe, by the way. I mean, like, it's kind of, I mean, to some extent, but I mean, there's only so many coverages.
I don't know why he'd get up there and lie, but I definitely watched that tape and was like, look, when they looked like they were blitzing, they kind of blitzed. And when they were in too high, they kind of just played too high. I wasn't quite sure what the never before seen coverage was, but Darnold has gotten got by rotating looks and even looks that people have seen maybe one or two times before. He's thrown some interceptions. So I think that the Seahawks could struggle to move the ball as well.
Yeah, I think the two defensive lines here, both sides of the ball, Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, and then it's just like a huge rotation of guys on the Seahawks side of it. I think that's like kind of the big, like the strength of both teams, the defensive lines. And I think there's weaknesses across the offensive line. So I think that usually is a good way to look at the under. And then also just mention quickly the offensive pace for both teams. I was looking at seconds per snap, and the Seahawks are 25th. The Patriots are 28th. So two very slow paced teams. If you kind of like look at those two teams and put them together, it'd be the equivalent of like a bottom 5 paced offense in the NFL. And I think that just makes sense. Like both these teams want to win with their defense largely. And then they kind of run the ball fairly, not like well, but they like try to keep it balanced to kind of develop the downfield pass. So we might see some sacks and some punts. And I think that will keep this game under 45.5. All right, let's go with the big talking point here. I think that is Sam Darnold. So what do you think the Patriots are going to do defensively about them, and how do you think that's going to affect Sam Darnold on offense?
I think they're going to blitz. I think we've seen a lot of that this postseason is heating them up, trying to isolate guys like Barmore and Milton Williams one-on-one on the guards, the rookie Gray Zabel, and the veteran who has struggled a bit this season, Anthony
Yes.
Bradford. Right. So I think there's going to be blitzing on maybe early downs, right? First down is when it usually comes. They've liked to kind of play their hand early, try to create a big negative and get these offenses playing second and 14, second and
Hmm.
15, second and long. And then they kind of get more into their umbrella and try to play from there. And I think against the Seahawks, that will probably continue to be their strategy, a team that does like to run the ball and if, has found something with Kenneth Walker. A team that is better, I think, on and long situations with how good JSN is and Shaheed
Yep.
is deep. I think you're going to see a lot of early blitzing, and yeah, it's going to be up to the Seahawks line to handle some really really big time one on ones in the interior.
Yeah, those one-on-ones definitely scare me, and I have the same notes on the blitz. That's 41% of their postseason snaps have been blitzes, which is, like, equivalent to, like, what Brian Flores is doing when he's a total psycho, and
There
then
we
the
go.
best 5 defensive games of the year for the Patriots are the last 5 games, and obviously that's been the reason
Wow.
why they're in the Super Bowl, so they're kinda peaking at the right time. I don't think that Milton Williams returning, that's, like, a coincidence, like, Milton Williams having one-on-one opportunities. They'll run, like, 3 defensive tackles to get, like, one-on-ones against the guards because
Yep.
they have this Tonga fella. And I think the Bradford versus, I think it's going to be a lot of Christian Barmore. That's going to be a big focus here. And then obviously could hit Sam Darnold hit the deep passes against the blitz because like he still wants to throw the ball down the field. And that's a very volatile way to live. I think largely it's good. But in a small 1 game sample, if those don't get completed, then obviously we run into some trouble there. So lots of blitzes. And that's going to be, I think, the big storyline here.
Yeah, for sure, and it puts a edge on the defense as well. I've done a really good job, I think, containing bootlegs and play action as well. When these edges can kind of rely on those interior
Yeah.
players to win so quickly,
Hmm.
guys like Chason or Ponder or Jennings or whoever it is just kind of hang back and they wait for the boot.
Yep.
And there's been a lot of havoc when quarterbacks try to run the play action and turn around and there's an edge rusher right in the face because
Hmm.
they trust Williams and Barmore or Tonga or whoever it is. 94 Durden, I think his name is. He's been good too. Like
Hmm.
it's their game against the Texans, I think, was the best game from an EPA per play standpoint against play action by anybody all
Wow.
year.
Wow.
So they've really done a nice job kind of taking away normal pockets by collapsing the depth and the bootlegs by just kind of hanging out on the edges. It's a scary defense to go against right now for sure.
Yeah, it really is. They lots of cover 0, cover 1, lots of blitzes, like we said, and then cover 3, which is kind of different because a lot of the NFL is a bunch of quarters and cover 2 looks out there, and then this defense a little bit different than a lot of the rest of the league and a lot of actually the common opponents that the Seahawks have faced. Like it's a lot
Yeah.
different than the 49ers and the Rams, who they've played a bunch recently. It's kind of a different style out there, so that's going to be interesting. Talking about the collapsing pocket, just like one like random take I have. Sam Darnold, his longest run is like at 6.5 yards. You can like move that thing up and down. He just like does not hit that very often. I think especially against these defensive tackles, and then also like Kayvon Chason and those type of guys just kind of swarming things. I think it's gonna be a little bit harder for him to take off and run here. So I think that you're just gonna have him eating some stacks and then throwing the ball down the field. And I don't think that we're gonna see him like scrambling around out there. So that's like one of my like side notes on that. You mentioned Christian Gonzalez. I think that he's definitely a huge talking point as well because he's got a huge assignment with JSN. If you're blitzing a lot like the Patriots do, you're leaving your corners on islands, and a lot of the times it's Christian Gonzalez kind of traveling around. So he didn't fully shadow with Cortland Sutton, but he did move into the slot last week at times. He did play both sides of the ball, kind of traveling him around. I'm assuming Christian Gonzalez is going to be more or less shadowing JSN. How do you see the defensive coverage on JSN shaping up?
I think it's going to be hard to shadow JSN 100% because the line up in the backfield. And are
Yep.
you going to put Christian Gonzalez at linebacker and then
Hmm.
they throw a screen, fake a screen to JSN and then hand it off and Gonzo is your linebacker.
Yeah,
So
probably not.
there's
Yeah.
definitely going to be scenarios where JSN is not on Christian Gonzalez. But I think also when he's outside or even in the slot, you may want to put him on there. This is the number 3 and number 4 players on my big board when they came out of college in
Wow.
2023.
Hell yeah.
Just two unbelievable movers, two unbelievably nuanced players, um, guys with adequate size, length. Like just matrices, solving problems, and tracking the football when it's in the air. When those two are one-on-one, it's gonna be one of the most fascinating matchups of the entire season. Like, those guys are just unbelievably good. So I would put Gonzo on JSN anytime he is not a fullback, okay? Like,
Okay, that makes sense. It's a good
that
rule.
that would be my rule, I think.
So you put Christian Gonzalez in that like absolute alpha tier of corners across the league. Obviously, like, Surtain might be in his like own bubble when he's like fully
Yeah.
healthy and stuff. But you would put like Christian Gonzalez in like with the Derek Stingley's and that. Like, you think he's like that good of a corner?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Okay.
I think it's really hard to go at him. I think you can look at the Texans game when he forced a fumble, right? Anytime it's a
Mm-hmm.
vice tackle and he's got a little bit of help and it's not one-on-one in space, he goes for that peanut punch, and he's been successful ripping the ball out this postseason. He's had picks. He's had plays where maybe he's gotten a little bit greedy playing underneath and then catches back up, gets his head around, rakes the ball out. Just a supreme athlete
He really
who
is.
can always kind of run his way back in the play and is willing to kind of lag behind to bait you into a throw. Mims did get him the one time this postseason, but I think outside of that, he's played absolutely phenomenally.
Yeah, he realized, and every good corner gets beat. Like the goal is not to completely eliminate. Like I've watched Derek Stingley get beat over the top a couple
Yeah,
times.
right.
It shit happens. It's the NFL, especially when you're getting JSN. I think it was a very good point. Just the acknowledgement of like lining up in the backfield, and it's not just the backfield; it's moving around the slot and whatnot. So I think even if we like Christian Gonzalez a lot, I still do think that JSN has like a real path of having a monster game. He's at about 93.5 receiving yards for his projection over on Underdog. He's gone higher than that in 12 of 19 games. He's been the leading Seahawks receiver in 17 of the 19 freaking ball games this year. That is unbelievable stuff. And I do think they're going to move him around. On my last note on JSN, his yards per route's actually better against the blitz. And I do think that there's kind of like this simplification from Sam Darnold where like he feels the pressure, like just throw the ball to JSN. And by the way, fantastic strategy. It's largely worked. So I do think that the other wide receivers, Cooper Kupp, even like AJ Barner, they don't get targeted as much against the blitz. The ball like really does funnel to JSN. I think that we're going to see a lot of one-on-one plays at the catch point, JSN versus Christian Gonzalez, and that will be a treat. How about any of the other Seahawks receivers? Obviously, they're very secondary. You can pick AJ Barner, Jake Bobo, Rashid Shaheed, Cooper Kupp, any kind of angles you like with those guys.
I don't know about those guys. I do like Kenneth Walker catching passes
Yeah.
out of the backfield a
Okay.
lot. I think that that's been a huge answer for them. He's been super dynamic in space. These linebackers for the Patriots aren't maybe the total peak of coverage and athleticism, so that's one thing. I think dig routes over their heads too is another thing. Maybe Kupp can catch a couple of those. That's not really a Shaheed route, but some of those in breaking patterns, trying to layer it intermediate. That's something that Darnold has been really good at. Maybe that just is more JSN though, but I could see maybe Kupp trying to pierce the defense at the kind of that second level in those bubbles, because the Patriots linebackers, if they're blitzing or biting on play action, definitely open up some opportunities to get some playmakers the ball in space.
Kenneth Walker, definitely very fascinating out here. He didn't play like that many more snaps without Zach Charbonnet. They got George Holani out there for like pass protection. And
Yep.
I think that's going to be an interesting part because you're bringing a lot of pressure here. I think Kenneth Walker's eyes just kind of get lost in pass protection. So what the Seahawks have been kind of doing is like screw pass protection, just like get out to the flats or run a little wheel route and let's like hit you down the field a little bit. So I think one of the solves might be like, all right, they're going to bring pressure. Let's just like try to squeeze one right by him, and you can get maybe an explosive through the air. So we'll see about him. There could be a pass protection issue, and I think George Holani, the running back 3 for the team, he is going to get some snaps out
That's a good
there.
point.
I don't like George Holani though. One thing, longest carry lower as well. I think that's just another mispriced one. But
take a quick moment. Think back to your first job. For me, scooping ice cream in the summer at a local Ben and Jerry's. I wanted my money as quickly as possible. Cash App allows me to do that via direct deposit 2 days earlier than some banks. Cash App is more than just a safe way to send and receive money, which, by the way, it's very good at that. Very, very quick and easy to sign up. But with the Cash App card, you get tons of perks without hidden fees. Think early access to concert pre-sales like Kendrick Lamar and Sabrina Carpenter. Shout out Hayden. He just went to a Sabrina concert. Plus, discounts on everyday purchase at brands you're probably already spending money on. It also keeps your money safe by automatically flagging suspicious transactions. and letting you lock your card instantly if it's ever lost or stolen. For a limited time, new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use code CashApp10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Discounts and promotions provided by Cash App, A Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
What about Kenneth Walker, the rusher? We're dealing with the three defense tackles that we keep mentioning, but I also noticed the Patriots defense, like, kind of run blitzes, like they're sending corners in there all the time. Like their safeties like are being really aggressive coming downhill. I noticed that a lot against the Broncos. Like whenever they would motion, like you just feel the entire Patriots defense kind of collapse. Maybe that was more of a Jared Stidham thing, but how do you think the Seahawks are able to run the ball against New England?
I don't know. I really, really like how this Patriots front is defending the run right now. And I think that Milton Williams and Barmore are pretty special at just widening their bodies and widening their base and getting one knee in the ground and preventing guys from climbing to those blitzing linebackers. Like these guys are just so good at occupying bodies coming off the line of scrimmage that it's really tough to move the ball on these Patriots. I think it was the game plan for the Broncos was to come out. Bo Nix is gone. The read option game is gone a little bit. Let's try to get under center, run behind our guards, right? Our really good run blocking tackles. And they came out and opened the game like that. And they just weren't able to do it. 4th and 1, they didn't even try. Like it was very difficult for them to move the ball on the Patriots with an even better front. I think what the Seahawks tried to do is try to make things kind of a kick return type of situation almost with their run game. Like they love to toss it out to the perimeter or run wide zone behind the fullback or, the 2 tight ends or whatever it is. Try to get some of these pass specialist bodies blocking Cooper Kupp in the pin pull game and make it kind of a running in space behind blockers.
That's what Kenneth Walker needs to be doing anyways,
Yeah. So maybe that's an answer for the defensive tackles, but I think the Patriots are going to be pretty ready for that. I think if there's one thing these linebackers are good at, it's kind of screaming sideline to sideline. And like you said, safeties have been, rotating down into the box a lot. And they've been playing man and blitzing with Gonzo and Carlton Davis. So I think it's going to be tough to move the ball. I think Kenneth Walker is a really good running back, but also somebody who, if they are blitzing a lot, could be taken off the field. Entirely. I think that's a really good point that you made. And if it's Helani with a 50% snap count, what is this run game going to look like?
Right.
Or something like that.
Yeah, that it makes me a little bit nervous. I did want to just mention the Anthony Bradford starter, the right guard. He's going to be facing Christian Barmore for a lot of the game. I did look at it. Milton Williams and Barmore switch sides, but most of the time it is Barmore against the right guard. So I like Christian Barmore 2.5 tackles plus assists there. He's been hitting that at a decent clip. Christian Barmore's like one of more like he's not a total superstar, but he's pretty damn close out there. He doesn't get like a lot of attention. What have you noticed from Christian Barmore this year? Because he really ate up Quinn Miners last week. One of the
he ate up Quinn Miners whenever they play. The last game they played against the Broncos back in 2023, I believe it was. He had a 3 sack performance.
That's
and
insane.
two of those were on Quinn Miners. He's just a speed and size mismatch. Like he's so tall, and I think that Chris Jones comes to mind when you watch him rush because usually you think low man wins, right? In the trenches, you want to get low. But with Barmore, it's just, I feel like he kind of stands up and hits that swim move and it's just kind of
squeeze through. Yeah.
And he's able to squeeze through and it's just kind of tough to get your hands on his shoulder pads with like good placement and leverage just because his hands are so active and he's just so big. So he's a speed and size mismatch. He's a size mismatch on Miners. He's probably a speed mismatch on Ben Powers, their other guard in the Broncos game. And I think on Bradford, he'll probably be a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think that's where Sam Darnold, like, I love my boy Sam Darnold, but there's times where like interior pressure and he just like wants to rip that ball down the field or like rip that ball over the middle. And then like the ball gets deflected, or he can't step into it, or the ball just kind of sails on him. And that's where you get some of the interceptions. So I think like that's going to be a big piece of the puzzle is like, let's make sure Christian Barmore is like not sacking Sam Darnold, but like more importantly is like not like batting down some passes for interceptions and that type of thing. I think it's going to be like a real big piece of the puzzle here. Christian
Yeah.
Barmore, number 8 defensive tackle in ESPN's pass rush win rate. He's a total monster.
Yeah. They're gonna have to double both of them is what happens. You get a guard slide one way, and then you get a guard tackle on the other one, and then you use your 12 personnel and you just swarm a defensive end with 2 tight ends, basically, is what the pass protection plan I think is gonna be.
Do you think they're gonna probably use like more 2 tight end sets than typical, just because the way that they use their defensive linemen?
I think so. I think that's one thing I definitely noticed versus Denver was even they were with their guards are trying to get a tackle presence on Barmore or Milton Williams, depending on the slide. So if you don't want, maybe you trust guys, they have pretty good blocking tight ends. They have very good blocking tight ends, I'd say. Definitely. So maybe you can be an 11 and survive with Afferny, Jennings, or especially Ponder one-on-one. There are some weak links to the New England front in a pass protection sense. Like Jaxon's good, but maybe the edge opposite him isn't the greatest pass rusher. So maybe they can be an 11 and still kind of let that tight end hold on for a second, and then the tackle starts to fan out after putting some presence on the defensive tackle. I think that can work, but I definitely could see more 12 personnel to help out on these edges while the tackle takes on Barmore to try to prevent him wrecking the game.
If they do use 2 tight ends, that's means Rashid Shaheed's snaps would kind of come down. It's still been Cooper Kupp in 2 wide receiver sets. Yeah. And Rashid Shaheed's like total monster specialist. I think they could use Rashid Shaheed more. I want like more creativity with Rashid Shaheed. I thought like he was even like a good like out route runner and like kind of comeback routes, like sometimes like reminding me of like what Tank Dell was doing in that special rookie season. So we haven't totally seen that in the numbers this year, but maybe he gets a deep pass against Carlton Davis on the other side. Let's go over to the Patriots side of the ball. We're once again still expecting a pretty low scoring game. It has not been pretty for the Patriots offense in the 3 playoff games when they've faced like some real defenses out there. Their EPA per play and success rates equivalent to what the Titans offense was this year. Not great at all. Do you think the Patriots, that's a sign of the strength of schedule coming into play here and they're facing better defenses? And then secondary to that, where would you rank like the Seahawks defense versus the Texans, Broncos, Chargers? Are they in their own tier?
I think they're there with the Texans and the Broncos. I think they might be number 1. I don't know if I'd put them in their own tier outside of those guys, especially with the hindsight of what we just saw the last 2 weeks. I think that it's going to be a struggle. I think it's going to be a real struggle for them to run the ball at all. I think this Seahawks defense has been in its own tier as a run defending unit, although the Rams were able to move the ball, and maybe the Patriots will be able to find something from that. But overall, with the corners the Seahawks have on these New England wide receivers and with the way that they're kind of able to suck up the run game, it is going to be extremely difficult. And the Patriots have not shown me enough this postseason to make me think they're going to light up the scoreboard. However, I do think there are some excuses. The weather plus the slate of top 5 defenses all the way through the AFC playoffs has been as bad as an environment as you can get if you're trying to imagine offensive football. So maybe in Santa Clara, used to all of these good defenses now, whereas the Patriots are by far the toughest team that I guess it's the Rams. It's the toughest secondary that they've had in a while.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, the secondary, the 49ers and Rams they're looking for corners and safeties out there right now. And
maybe there's a bit of a growing pain from Darnold, whereas May is like, oh yeah, it's been this hard the whole time.
And he gets like a week to like just take a freaking breath, man. He's 23 years old. Like you're going through this gauntlet. It's like, all right, let's take a breath and try to like calm our nerves a little bit. But I think the weather like completely eroded that game. And also like Boutte versus Surtain, like that's just like never gonna
happen.
No, never.
Yeah. Is Boutte versus Willing going to happen? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that either. Let me set up this way. Mike McDonald right now, widely considered the best defensive play caller in the game. I was looking at, PFF and FTN, and there's different databases that have coverage splits. And what I noticed is the people charting the games could not identify the same coverages. If it's cover 2, cover 6, cover 3, there's kind of this hodgepodge effect that's coming into play with the Seahawks defense. How would you describe what the hell they're doing out there, and like why is it so complicated for especially young quarterbacks across the league?
I would describe it as if you're trying to put a label on it, just think of them as a cover 4 team where you've got 2 safeties high, and there's just such a variety of things that you can do when you've got those safeties high. To me, it opens up vision on the route concepts, and it with space to work, you can kind of MacGyver any kind of bracket that you want. So
Mhm.
like if there's two guys in the slot, right, and it's trips, you can, when you're in quarters, it's very easy to get a bracket over the slot two guys and leave the outside guy one-on-one or something like that. Or if there's a number one receiver who's isolated, you can put the bracket over there. It just kind of gives you this blank canvas to move your safety help wherever you need it to be. And
Mhm.
to me, that's where the Seahawks defense really shines, is they start in that too high shell, and your best player is just going to have a double team no matter what, I feel like. And then Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams are so good
Here
that
they
if your
come.
answer to those too high looks is, oh, we'll just run the ball, right? Oh, we'll just
Mhm.
bypass all those brackets and hand it off. Well, they're the best run defending team in the league by far. It's very similar to what the Eagles were last year with Fangio.
Agree.
And I definitely had a very similar kind of moment of realization where, like, look, it doesn't matter what Jalen Hurts does. All right. Like, he can take 8 sacks versus the Rams or do whatever it is that this the Eagles offense is up to. And they have this great defensive formula where the deep shots are taken away, and then they have two
Yep.
really good defensive tackles to take away the run game. It's really the same thing with the Seahawks. So they're just a safe defense that's also rugged. Like, they just have everything.
I think this year's Seahawks team and last year's Eagles teams are very similar, where their defenses by the end of the year were completely awesome. And then their quarterback, like, we can argue if he's a top 10 guy or not. I think largely they're just kind of outside that. They can get
Mhm.
really hot by the way that they play. Like, they want to take the shots down the field. And guess what? If you go 4 for 7 on your downfield shots, you're going to put up 300 yards and have one of the best Super Bowl performances that we've seen. So I think Hurts and Sam Darnold, like, ironically, are kind of similar quarterbacks, like in terms of tier and how they win.
Yep.
And then also the defenses, it's the too high zone stuff. And then you have just like a really deep defensive line, and it just gets really complicated out there. Yeah, there's some really crazy young quarterback splits against Mike McDonald. And I think a lot of disguises, they don't blitz that much just because they can create a lot of pressure with stunts. And there's these guys winning one on
Yeah.
one. So yeah, Drake May is going to have his hands full. I think how you started this, very true too. They're just, they can't like consistently run the ball. You're asking Drake May to do so much, and that's why I think he took off and ran last week, and that was the difference in the game. And he's gonna have to do something special because I don't necessarily love his individual matchups. So hopefully he doesn't take too many sacks in this one. They're gonna ask him to throw the ball down the field and scramble a bunch. And
Yeah.
the Seahawks, ironically, have faced the most scrambles this entire season.
Yeah, I think the Patriots defense, or the Patriots offense, that is, does do a good job leveraging Drake May's scramble threat for sure. I mean, they run so many fades. It's fade balls up the sideline all day. That's really what they want to get to. And it kind of forces you to play too high. Like, it forces you to play not just too high, but cover two, where
Mhm.
the safeties are moving at a
Way back,
45-degree angle towards the sideline,
yep.
because Drake May has been the best fade ball thrower in the league this year and maybe over the last couple seasons. So those safeties split, and then Drake May runs right up the middle. And that's been such a good formula. That's how they've been able to move the football. But again, you're running right into Leonard Williams and
Yes.
some Ernest Jones or whoever it is up the middle.
Yeah, that's like the big difference, just the defensive tackle play, and then they just Ernest Jones and all of the corners and safeties really tackle well for the Seahawks as well. Obviously, Nick Emmanwori and Devin Witherspoon are just the complete savages out there. So yeah, it's gonna be. I'm expecting a lot of scrambles from Drake May, probably a lot of sacks as well, and then can he hit the deep ball? So the question becomes, who the hell is he actually going to be throwing the ball to? It's usually Steph Diggs and Hunter Henry, and then a little bit of Kayshon Boutte. Between like those three guys, like, is there like a particular matchup that you like more than the others?
Yeah, just whoever Job is on, I guess. That's what it was for the Rams, right? There's that one weak link. You don't want to throw it at Woolen, who's 6'4", long arms, 4.2 speed, right?
Yeah.
Can catch up to anything. Even if he looks beat, he comes back into it. There's Witherspoon, who is more of a downhill tackler type of guy and kind of a zone coverage demon. He's good in man, I think, but you can take him maybe down the sideline a little bit more than you can
Mhm.
Woolen. So that's a matchup that maybe the Patriots can get to. And they've thrown at Sertan, they've thrown at Stingley, they'll throw at anybody down the field. But Job is really the guy you're looking at, where it's like, if we need a bucket, we're not looking at one of our receivers specifically. We're looking at one of their
Yeah.
corners.
Yeah, and that's just what like Tom Brady always talks about with McDaniels is that they're not a they don't run a specific scheme on offense. They're a matchup week by week offense, and obviously they're just going to pick apart
That
whoever
is the
they think is
Patriots way. That is
it's
deeply
how it's
what the
always been.
Patriots
It's
is
always been.
be variable each week. And it's like that on their defense, and it's like that
Yep.
on their offense.
So how the Patriots like skill guys have worked. Diggs has played. He's not a full-time player, especially when Matt Collins has been back out there. He plays a lot in the slot, and that's what he was doing with the Texans. So that's not really that surprising. He's been excellent, like on a per snap basis. And I do think that there's a chance they're gonna have to pass the ball even more, whether it's game script related or if they can't run the ball on the Seahawks defensive line. Where I do think that Steph Diggs, he's only at like 4.5 receptions. I do think there's a good path of him catching a lot of passes underneath. He's actually better against the cover 3, cover 4, cover 6, cover 2 world that the Seahawks are in. So I do think that Steph Diggs is going to be a big part of this. And then the other thing I was going to say, Hunter Henry is looking good because the Seahawks have been getting absolutely annihilated by tight ends. So that's the second most receptions allowed on the regular season, second most receiving yards to tight ends, especially lined up in the slot, where Hunter Henry can kind of go. Is there like a reason is you have to concede something on defense? Like, do you think Mike Macdonald's like, all right, throw the ball to freaking tight ends and we'll rally and tackle and like we'll live with that? Or do you think there's something else at play matchup wise for maybe Hunter Henry being the guy
I think
that
it's
pops
that
up?
first thing, and I think the Seahawks linebackers are probably their weakness athletically. Like 42 is Drake Thomas, I think,
Mhm.
and Ernest Jones can be beat in a foot race or off the line of scrimmage. And I think that goes for running backs as well. Like when the 49ers were able to move the ball on the Seahawks, it was McCaffrey checkdowns, which is always true. And
Yep.
then I think Ernest Jones really kind of struggled to track him in space. He made him miss in the middle of the field a bunch. So I think that those are probably the magnets of this Seahawks defense, right? Of like, who do we want to attack? Probably 42 on the
Mhm.
weak side linebacker. So yeah, a stick route there, a check and release to the tight end feels a lot safer than trying to test Julian Love or whoever it
Right.
is deep.
Yeah, and like I think that there's like obviously some big names like Emmanuel Wari, Devin Witherspoon, Ernest Jones. Like everyone's heard of these guys, but it does not necessarily mean that they're going to be completely like icing up like Hunter Henry. Like there's going to be some mismatches out there, and like we just said, like you have to allow something. And a lot of the times, if you have a bunch of safeties down the field, there's fewer bodies underneath, and you're going to throw the ball to Hunter Henry. So he plays really well against the type of coverages the Seahawks run. The Seahawks have a little weakness in the database, so I do think
Yep.
that Hunter Henry, he's a big mainstay. How about Kayshon Boutte? Because on like a per target basis, he's like the best wide receiver in the NFL this year. It's pretty remarkable what he's doing. His tape doesn't make that much sense to me because he's like still kind of pudgy. He's not that fast, but he just beats everyone down the field because he's so physical and his release package is pretty good. So what have you seen from Kayshon this year? And then also matching him against Reek Woolen, who's infinitely faster and longer and just smoother in general. How do you see that matchup?
Yeah, I think that Boutte has a good repertoire with Drake May, who's a really explosive player, and he catches everything. And it's just a good formula for efficiency when you catch a lot of explosive opportunities, and that's Boutte. Like he said, the Texans DBs are physical, but I'm a physical guy, right? And he's
Mm-hmm.
just able to, no frills about it, run right by him, chisel out just a little bit of space for himself, and make that one-handed catch. And I think that just goes to show the kind of player that he is. Drake May has been such a good deep ball thrower. He's been so good extending things with his legs. And I think Boutte is a lot of the times the beneficiary of that in zone coverage. I think he's smart. He knows when to settle down. He expects the Drake May back shoulder a lot of the time.
Yep.
Like not much takes him by surprise in terms of placement. He's just on it. He's on his P's and Q's. And he's played with, I think, an MVP quarterback and knows what he likes and has been a
Mm-hmm.
really reliable target despite, some of those athletic limitations.
Yeah, he's a fascinating player. He's definitely good. Did want to mention Seahawks have been specifically very good against this style of wide receiver. So just
Yeah.
outside wide receivers down the field, the Seahawks only 11% of their outside wide receiver targets have reached the 18.5 yards, which is his longest reception line right now. That's like the lowest in the NFL. And then if you remove the Puka Nakua games from that as well, it gets even lower. It's like 8%. It's like a complete outlier situation out there. So Kayshon's got his hands full in this
Yeah.
one. All right, how about the running backs? Because last week was wild. Rhamondre Stevenson played 60 of the 64 snaps. So my question to you is TreVeyon Henderson bad or good, or is it more complicated than that?
Probably bad is probably my short answer. I just think that he's just has spent way too much time dilly-dallying behind the line of scrimmage.
I agree.
There are holes there that he misses. There's a pretty egregious cutback on power that he should have hit, but he bounced it.
Yep.
And he got tackled for a loss, and then it just felt like he was in the doghouse and benched. And especially against that Denver team that got gashed on those toss plays the week before, right? You're waiting for the Henderson toss, right? Like go to Jonathan Cooper's side. Maybe there's a crease like there was last week. And James Cook is a great running back, but he's not necessarily a home run hitter. If you can get Henderson one of those lanes, like he might score. And they just never even really tried it with him. So that tells me that he's in the doghouse. And I don't really think in the most important game of the season, he's going to be out of the doghouse unless Rhamondre Stevenson fumbles. But Rhamondre Stevenson has been really, really good. Exactly what they've needed from him. The Patriots offense has just been him salting the game away, right? That's the entire playoffs is Rhamondre Stevenson salting the game away, and he hasn't fumbled, and he has picked up some really tough, rugged yardage.
Yep.
So I'm not really expecting to see much of TreVeyon Henderson in the Super Bowl.
So is Rhamondre Stevenson good? Because the more I watch him, like recently, the more he's been standing out. He's been actually ripping off some explosives, but a couple of like the plays last week, it's like on the Drake May rushing touchdown, he's out there lead blocking. On the big Drake May scramble, like he's picking up a stunt and just like holding the line there. That was impressive. The flea flicker.
The flea flicker is insane.
I couldn't believe he got it back around and just held the ground there as well. So like there's like all these underappreciated things where Rhamondre is just huge out there, comes into play, I guess, particularly in snow games and in the playoffs. But TreVeyon just like not going to do any of that stuff. He's been like very bad in pass protection, and a lot of it's just like the size. Like, you know, it's when that linebacker's coming downhill, like it's better to not be 198 pounds back there, and that's definitely not Rhamondre Stevenson's problem right now.
Yeah, I think Rhamondre Stevenson is maybe their best offensive player. Wow. So yeah, he's been good. He's been very solidly good.
I think his receptions makes a lot of sense in this one as well. I'm with you. I think Rhamondre's just outplayed TreVeyon. It is what it is. TreVeyon's very fast and he can rip off a big play, but the Seahawks don't allow big plays on the ground. I'm sure that if Theo and I know that the Patriots know that, and they're just going to like grind it up the middle with Rhamondre and then throw the ball down the field. So I'm not sure we're going to see that much TreVeyon.
Watch out for number 37, their fullback. Mm-hmm. That's my X factor for the Super Bowl is their fullback number 37. I think his name is Westover.
Yep.
They had him run down. He doesn't look like a fullback. All right. He's built like me. He's very thin. He's very fast for a fullback. And I think from a blocking style standpoint, it has more to do with agility. It has more to do with kind of technique than like Vonta Leach run somebody over, Mike Tolbert run somebody over. And occasionally they'll even split him out and they'll run him down the field. And it's like, man, he looks good. Like they could have targeted him on Pat Surtain. Pat Surtain wasn't taking him very seriously, but Westover ran this go. I'm like, you can throw that. He ran a corner route at one point, like deep. It's like, you could throw that to this fullback. I'm very interested to see this like random wide receiver kind of body type that they have playing fullback. And if they're willing to just, I don't know. I look at him. I'm like, this guy is who I'd be most scared of if I was the Seahawks.
Yeah, there's always some Patriots guy that comes out of nowhere.
There's always some Patriots guy who comes out of nowhere to catch something, and then they've just got this like very suspicious fullback that looks like a receiving threat. I'm like, that guy, he's up to something. Like, they're up to something with number 37 playing fullback. So
I'm gonna go back and watch Jack Westover. He might be the first fullback who weighs less than the running back he's blocking for with Rhamondre Stevenson, because Rhamondre's like, he might be hitting 240. I think Westover's listed at 240. So I think those guys step on the scale. That's pretty much a toss-up to me. So that's going to be very interesting.
Grilling Westover. I'm going to be in Santa Clara with credentials. The first guy I'm going to is Westover. Like, you are a spy, bro. Like,
explain yourself.
You do way less than your running back. Like, what are you doing here? Like, what do they have planned for you?
That's amazing.
That's going to be my number one. That's my number one question about the Patriots.
Interesting. when you're talking about fullbacks, I thought you were going to say Tonga out there because Tonga's been pushing piles kind of as a fullback. He was also on my list of like play action, something weird at the goal line. He sneaks out there too. So the Patriots have a couple of these menaces out there. Obviously, Tonga weighs a little bit more than Westover, but similar process there.
Yeah, I have a 10-13 final score, and the score is Tonga or Westover.
Yes,
so we'll see how it goes.
That would be a classic Super Bowl. Yeah, this is the first Super Bowl in over 50 years where both teams entered the season with 60-1 odds to win the Super Bowl. It's going to come down to the blitz. It's going to come down to one of these guys that no one's really talking about. What about on defense? Is there any like underrated player you think on the Seahawks or the Patriots that we haven't like spent enough time on, whether it's somebody in the secondary, a rotational defensive lineman, anything like that, just somebody on defense that we can kind of.
I definitely think the Patriots safeties have a chance to impact the game versus Houston. They were really coming out of their like one high looks and driving on Diggs, breaking up some passes. Aikman begged the Texans to run a double move on the safeties. They were biting so much. So I think whether it be Woodson or what's the other ones? 31. There's Woodson and then 31, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, which is bad by me. But one of these safeties has a chance to, I think, be the GOAT or the hero with kind of how aggressively they've been playing.
Interesting. Yeah, I think the special team's going to come into play too. Rashid Shaheed's just been a complete wild card. This is one of the best Seahawks special teams unit like NFL history. It's like been that good, and especially when.
And then there's Marcus Jones.
Yep, Marcus Jones is definitely a threat too. So maybe it's a big explosive from one of the returns. I think Aaron Schatz, who does all the DVOA work, he was just mentioning that the Patriots like return defense is just like not that good. So maybe there's like some huge explosive here, and that could kind of swing things. So I'm on the Seahawks. I'm on the lower. We largely see the game pretty closely in this one. Before we get out of here, I got to get over to Super Bowl foods category for Theo Ash. What is the thing that gets you most fired up at a Super Bowl party in terms of food?
I think it would have to be chicken wings. I think if there's chicken wings there, I'm on it.
How hot are you going?
I'm going. I think this would be above my expectations for a Super Bowl party, but if there was like a really hot dry rub, that would be the best.
Oh yeah, but, dry rub for sure.
But I don't think that's the case for Super Bowl parties. It's usually something that's a little bit cheaper than that, I'd say. But I can go pretty hot. I like a lot of kick.
Yeah, I just don't want, like the dripping sauce getting over my white couch. I'm going to freak out if that happens over at my place. I'm on the Hawaiian rolls, anything with a slider, cheeseburger, sando. I don't care what it is. If it's on a roll, that's what I'm going with. And last question here. How many calories are you putting down on a Super Bowl Sunday?
Look, knowing my situation, it's probably mostly going to be Trader Joe's junk snack food is probably what is going to be in my future.
Okay, good.
I don't know how many calories that is. I feel like it's not going to be the pit barbecue masters over at the where I'm at, but we'll see.
I'm sure some people are allowing themselves good 4,000 or 5,000 calories out there. Maybe Theo, you'll treat yourself to.
I wish I had a porch with a grill. I wish I had. I wish I wasn't a 24-year-old living in Denver. It's not gonna be Texas or sized or anything.
Yeah, we'll always have it in the future. We'll have that big old place, big Super Bowl party, the grill, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, yeah.
What's your plans for Super Bowl week? Where can we find you? Make sure we're following you guys and the podcast, everything you got going.
Oh yeah, you can find me at the Stay Hot podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts. It's me, Matthew Sponhauer, Bladen Kirk. And then you can find my individual stuff at Theo Ash NFL on Twitter and on TikTok. I'll be doing interviews. I'll be getting to the bottom of what Westover really is. And yeah, that's where I'll be.
I'll give you a lot of credit, especially for Super Bowl week. You go out of your way to ask like good ask questions to like the other players involved in the Super Bowl. It's very refreshing. I feel like the Super Bowl content week is just like the same shit over and over and over again. Getting some new refreshing answers out there is very good for the time.
Yeah, my life gets honestly pretty easy. I like to look good sometimes in Super Bowl question week when someone's shaving their head and being like, Purdy, I shaved my head. And he's like, okay, I don't care.
Yeah, whatever.
And then I'm like there's just some play that I saw and it's really not that hard. Just be like, you had a sack. What did you see on that sack?
Yeah.
It's not.
It's really not the
appreciated
craziest,
it.
most difficult job, but versus what else is out there, it does make you feel good.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, all right. True last question. I've gone to the NFL prospects. Is there any like first round, second round prospect, maybe a wide receiver or something like that you think is like a certified baller or somebody that you think is maybe a little bit overhyped right now? I'm about to dive into these guys. I just want a little preview.
Oh, let's see. I haven't looked at that many people. For the most part, I look and I see overrated prospects at the top of this class. Like, I'll hit you with, I don't think Mendoza is like your typical number 1 overall pick even. And then it kind of goes from there. But like Falk from Auburn, I don't think is like a first rounder type pass rusher or really. And here's my really hot take about him. I don't think that he's the world's greatest run defender, even from an edge. I think he's got some good reps, but I think he could use a little bit more consistency there. Sadiq, I feel like he is kind of historically unproductive for a tight end going in the first round, and he's getting like top 10 talk. Ty Simpson, is he going to be the second overall pick because he's the second best quarterback? Like, I don't think he's anywhere near that.
No, I watched him. That's insane.
That's insane. So I've got much less than finding sleepers. I got to find someone who's like really, really good at the top. I like Caleb Downs. I think Caleb Downs is all worth the hype. And I like Jordan Tyson a lot. I think Jordan Tyson has some JSN-esque qualities to him. So he might be the guy I'm really high on, but he's got some injury issues. Lemon, I think, is good, and Tate. So I think the wide receivers are good. I think the corners are good, but some of these trench players and quarterback, some of the really high end like positional value positions, I'm like, who's going in the top 10 this year? Who's going in the top 5?
Interesting. Okay, cool. I know Mekhi Lemon's good as somebody who watches every USC game. Lemon's very good, but I'll go all 22 of these guys myself. I'll eventually be doing a top 100 big board. I've watched 2 players. It's just the 2 quarterbacks. I've got my hands full for the next couple weeks. So thanks for liking, subscribing, following Theo, following me on everything. We'll see you next week. I don't know what we're going to do next week, but we'll come up with something later.